Okay, so last week Dimeji taught us how to create our own data frame, create series. So he taught us how to create data frame using dictionary, where the column name will be the key and the rows will be what we put in as the values of that dictionary, which we can put in an array or a list, things like that. So we also try to see how we can load our own data frame using the Pandas read CSV. So that's where I'm going to start to quickly revise what we did last week. So suppose this is a link. So I already have, because your data, you can also upload your data to Anaconda, to Jupyter Notebook. Like here, I have gapminder.csv. I actually uploaded this data here. And I also created a data where I store all of this data. You have access to all of this data. Is on your dashboard. I think you guys use this one. Is on your dashboard. I've shown you a couple of times. So Pandas, so you can see all of this zip folder. They have quite a different number of data there. So you can download them and unzip them to your desktop. So this data consists of some of the data I'm just showing you. So you can create a folder on Jupyter Notebook, like here, come to new, see folder. You can create the folder there and open the folder, then upload all the different data you want there. Or you can just get the link directly from your computer and bring it into here. So this data I put like this is already uploaded there. So that's why I don't need a link from my computer. So since it's on Jupyter Notebook, I can just put, this dot / just mean go outside this directory and go to this particular directory, and you will see a data called gapminder. If this data is in this folder data, I will have to do something like data and then another / So this means go to the root directory, look for a folder called data. Inside that folder, look for a data called gapminder. But I don't have it in this data, so I will remove this particular guy. So that's what that is saying. Okay. So I want us to revise. We have imported Pandas as PD. How do we load this data? Let's call it gap. How do we load it? I need someone to help me. Yes, we did this last week. Let's make it fast. Yes, you guys, you didn't practice.
You can PD. Dot, since it's a CSV file, dot read. That's for CSV.
Yeah, thanks.
URL in your bucket.
Thanks, Awele. So, sorry. Okay. So, yeah, so we'll pass in the URL just like she said, and then we can read this. Once you didn't see, if it's running, you're going to see Python 3 hop here shaded. But if it's not shaded, if it's open like this, that means it's not running. So, it has finished running. So we can check the first few rows using the .add method and all of that. So that's the first 5 rows. How do I check the last 5 rows? Let's make that fast.
Tail.
Tail. Thanks. You guys are already gurus in Pandas now. Tail. So this gives us the last 5 rows. What if I want to check the column names?
Column.
Columns. So that gives all of the column names. What if I want to check the data types?
D type.
D types, that's right. So you can put a tab, press D, you can see D types there. So it's an attribute, just like columns. So that gives all of the different data types. When you see objects, it just means that they are text. And these are integers, floats. Floats mean decimals. Floats, integers. So forget about the 64. Just talk about the bits, the number of bits that is. What if you want to check a comprehensive information about the data? Yes.
.info.
Gap.info. So it's a method. So you do. So this will give a comprehensive information about the data. So you have the 6 columns. That's the column names. So that's the number of columns. These are the column names. This talks about the number of rows, 1,704. And here, because they are complete 1,704, it means there is no missing values. These are the data type here. So, but we can manually check, we can manually check for missing values. How do you do that? Yes.
Is null or is any?
I think you're the only one talking now. Is any? Is that? Is that?
I think so. I think so, sir.
So this will give us just true or false. What if I want to know how many rows are missing or how many rows are not missing? What do I do?
I think .sum.
Sum. So for the next few questions, I want someone else to answer, okay? Thank you. All right. So now there is a continent here. So what if I want to know the number of unique, like I want to know the unique continents there. How do I find out? Someone else. Yes. Who want to help us with that? Awele, Fumbi, Ayomide. Chibike doesn't talk, so there's no point calling Chibike. Maybe someone else, yes. Except if Chibike wants to talk today to break the, the record he has here. Yes, who want to help out? Unique continent, to know the different continents we have. Nobody. Okay, anybody now? Rafiu, what do you think? Rafiu is not answering. Okay, so select the continent and then we have a method called unique. We have a method called unique, and this will give us the unique continents. So this tells us that we have Asia, we have Europe, we have Africa, Americas, and Oceania in this data. So, and if suppose there are more than this and I don't want to count it, so I just ask you for the number, then you can use, you can just use N unique. So the N, instead of unique, I'll just do N, that stands for number, and then I'll put unique, number of unique continents. So this, according to my data, I have 5, excuse me. Okay, so according to my data, I have 5 unique continents in this data, and these are the names. What if you want to do some simple descriptive statistics? How do we do that? Anybody? Yes?
Describe.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Are you Sammy or Ilesami? Which one?
Elizabeth is my surname. Samson is my name.
Samson. Okay, thanks, Samson. So we can do describe, and then this gives us this gives us some statistics about the data. So, but you observe that it's not including the continent and the country. So what if we want to get that? How do we do that? How do we include those continents and country in the describe method? Yes, who want to try? Doesn't mean you guys did not watch video or you did not practice or what? What's going on? Is it only something that is here? Awele, what do you think? Yes, Awele, what do you think? How do you include all the countries, all the variables, including those ones that are text in the describe in this, to make the descriptive, to get the statistics for everything, not just the numeric columns? How do you do that, Awele? Fumbi,
I don't know how to do that, sir.
Taiwo, BC.
I was not around in last class.
So you were not around, you did not bother to watch the video. That's well with you. All right, Samson, do you want to help out?
I don't know if
All right, so you can, there is an include method in this describe. So you people don't watch videos. If you don't go back to what we've done, we did this last week. You include all. There is an include argument in this describe. If you include all, it's going to put everything there. So although they may not be that informative, but it's going to include those objects there. The reason it's put in is because it can't find the mean, the standard deviation, and all of that for it. So next time, if I observe you guys are not watching video, I will not be revising again. I will just go straight to what I want to teach, and then I will leave you to figure it out. So this will be the last time I will tolerate that. Yeah, you have 1 week. So if you don't, then there's no point recording the video. So after today, if I observe that again, that you don't go back to what we've done, I may not be uploading any video again, and I will not be revising. Yeah, we need to be disciplined. Yeah. Okay, so subsetting columns. So suppose I want to select in these columns, in this data frame, suppose I want to subset the data to select just the country, the year, and the life expectancy. I just want to select all the rows for those 3 columns. How do I do that? Who wants to help me with that? I just want to select country, year, and the life expectancy. I want to select all the rows for those 3 columns. How do we do that?
You use double square brackets.
Yes.
So you put the column names in quotes, like it's a list inside the inner one.
Yes, thank you. So we have the country, the continent, and the year. That's right. So that will select all of the rows for these 3 columns. And if I just want to select the rows to be between 20 and 50, I could do this 20:50, but so this will give me, start from 20 and it's going to end at 49. So this is between 20 and 50. So this means select all, this last bracket, if I don't include, it's going to select all of the rows. So, but including it, putting this last bracket, it just means I don't want all the rows. Give me the rows between 20 and 50. That's what that last one is doing. Although there is a better method, which we are going to see now, and that is using loc and iloc. Loc and iloc. So what loc is doing is pretty similar to what we just did here, to what I really suggested here. Like, so we can use loc to select all the rows we want and all the columns we want, different rows we want, and all of that. So the problem with this, let me see if this will work. Suppose I just want the 10 row, 15, and the 50th row. Let's see if this will work. So this did not work. Or let me see if we put it in another square bracket. this will work. We're experimenting now. So it still did not work. So this is only working if we want to select like, oh, between this and this, between that and that. Okay, so but let's see with look and I look whether we can be, whether we'll be able to achieve that. So what I was trying to do there is it possible to select, let's say just the 10th row, the 15th row, and the 50th row for just those 3 columns? We couldn't do that using, using the previous method I showed you, but let's see if we can achieve that with look and iLook. iLook means integer location. So the look is just like the location. So there is a way it works. It's pretty simple. Let's look at the data again. So we have, this is the data. So suppose I want to select, just the first row alone. So watch the index. The index is from 0 and all of that. So suppose we have this, we call on look, followed by a square bracket. The look is not a function, it's not a method. It's just an attribute, so you follow it with a square bracket. So there are 2 things you should pay attention here. So 2 things. So something before the comma and something after the comma. Before the comma, you specify the rows you want. After the comma, you specify the columns. But you must know the column names. That's what you for look, you have to use the column names. So what comes before here is the colon. Is the row, how you want to, the number of rows you want. If I put colon, I want all of the rows, all of the rows. So, so if I put a column name here, like let's say I want only continent. So this will just give me all rows for the continent. So, and we can select multiple ones, just like we did there. We can select the year, the country, let's say continent, we want to select continent. So we want to select continent, we want to select, let's say life expectancy, and let's say we want the GDP per capita. The reason you are doing this is that if you are working in an organization, you have huge data. Most times you will not be working with the entire data. You might need to subset those data into smaller pieces that will answer the question you are trying to investigate. There must always be a business problem or a research problem for those of you who are in school, research questions. Those of you who have graduated, who did your project, you will understand what I'm saying. Before you want to do any project, you say, oh, come up with the research question. And with the research question, some of you design questionnaires. Am I saying something similar to what some of you have done? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
You design questionnaires, you share the questionnaires to people, they fill it. If for those of you who use SPSS, you now transform that questionnaire to, you enter them into SPSS, code all those levels, and those code, and those are what become the data we are having here. So, but if you have, but also instead of you gathering, that one is data gathering actually in statistics. But but in the organization, if you are working in an industry, you will not be doing that. So most times the organization already have their data. So they have the data, they have it somewhere, maybe in their SQL database. And that's why we're going to do SQL very soon after we do our machine learning. So you have, this course is comprehensive. And that's why you shouldn't be discouraged along the way. You have a lot of things to learn. So suppose they have the data somewhere and you have the link, suppose. So you have to read it in like we are doing now. And then there might be a question they want you to investigate. Like maybe they ask you that, oh, which country, or let's say which continent has the highest, GDP per capita, things like that. So that may be the question. For this one, you don't need to subset the data. You can answer the question directly. But if the data has so many columns, like 50 columns, 100 columns, you might need to select just the columns you need to answer a specific question. And that's what we call subsetting or slicing data. And you do that easily with look. So if I do this, this will select all of the rows for these 3 columns. So if we do that, you can see this we select, and we can save it in a different variable. So that means we are not working with the entire data now. We are now working with this subset of that entire data, this subset of the whole data. So you can save this in a single variable. So this will select all of the rows for these 3 columns. And suppose I only want between what I was trying to achieve there, we did, suppose I want just between 10 and 50, that will give me between 10 and 50, but it's going to include the 50. So this will give me all of that. What I was trying to achieve there that we couldn't get, that, suppose I just want 3 rows, but 10, 15, and 50. So we can do that here with look. That will select the 10th row, the 15th row, the 50th row. So you can actually, sorry about that, that's my son. So you can actually use, come in, like use your different creativity and work with this data, slice them the way you want based on the question you want to answer and things like that. So this is just an example. So if you are selecting multiple rows, put them in a separate list and specify the rows. But if you are like, selecting everything, just put colon. Instead of this list, just put colon there. That means select all of the rows for these variables. I don't know if that is clear, or am I too fast? Is it clear?
It's clear, sir.
Thank you. So, so what do you think? How do we get the last row? How can we get the last row of this data? I want information on the last row, like the last row for all of the columns. I just need that information. How do we do that? Kudos.
I think we use -1.
On what? So you are saying I should do gap the log minus.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
Yes, this should bring out the rule.
You give us error. Okay. Who wants
No,
to
we
try?
not specify the one for the columns.
I didn't specify the columns. We can do this. We can put colon there. That would mean all the columns.
Okay, all the
It's going to
columns.
give us error. So he said -1 is not in range. So always pay attention to the error. So because he can't find -1 in all of these index. So that's why. So yes, who else want to try? Fumbi, Awele, what do you think? Samson, what do you think?
No idea, sir.
No idea. Okay. Okay. Dimeji, you have a question?
No question. No, I just want to try new.
Oh, okay. You want to try? All right. I'll permit you this time around. Okay.
Okay, we use iLook because iLook uses.
I've not talked about look, so I want to use. How do you do that with look? We've not. I know you can do it with iLook. What of with look? Since we've not talked about iLook, can we do it with look? Dimeji.
I don't know because look now. I think it uses the name of the. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. No, well, when we get to iLook, I will allow you to say that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we can do it with look. So let me tell you what look is doing on this row stuff. So he's having issue with this particular stuff. He's okay with this, means all columns, but he's having issue that he can't find -1 there. That's the problem with the look. So what we can do, what if we find a way to know the index of the last row? That might work. So to do that, we might not be able to get it in a single command. Let's get the row automatically without using, let's see. So row, let's just find, do you remember what, let me do this, gap.shape does? What does gap.shape gives us?
It gives the rows and columns.
The rows and the column. So if I put row 0 here, what will this give me?
The rows.
The number of rows. If I put -1, it gives me the, since I know this thing is starting from 0, so definitely if I subtract 1 from the entire row, will that give me the index of the last row? Will it?
It should, but I think it has to be saved in the variable first.
Yes, I know. Will this give the last row?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let's call that row index and save it in that variable. So since we know that, let's come and select, instead of -1, let's put row index there and see. You see that it works? So this is the last row, 1703. And these are the information in that last row: country, continent, the year, the life expectancy, the population, and the GDP per capita. Is it clear what I did?
Very, very clear, sir.
All right. So the first thing I did was to try to get the index of that last row. And how I did that was, I know shape will give me the row and the column, and 0 that means the first thing there, which is the odd number of rows. Since this data frame is starting from 0, I know -1 will give me the last row since it starts from 0. So I just saved that here, and I'm using that as the row that I want. And I'm saying this one for all the columns. That's all I'm doing. So yeah, that's it. For when we get to iLook, we'll see how we can do that. And that was what Dimeji was trying to say. So I've talked about this one, but let me see if you guys are paying attention. How do I select the first row, the 50th row, and the 120th row for this data? Yes? Who wants to? Gap dot
look,
look.
square bracket, 0, should be 49 and 119.
Thank you. Then we can put colon here, right? To mean all of the columns. Yeah. So this gives the 0, the first row, the 50th row, and the 120th row. So you can see that, oh, the first row is about Afghanistan, that is from Asia, and the data for that year is like 1952, the population GDP. The same thing, the 50th row is by Argentina, from Americas. When we say Americas, it doesn't mean just United States of America. They are all under Americas, So Belgium, so we have Europe, things like that. So that's it. So you can use that for. So why do I now need to, what's now the difference between look and iLook? Let's quickly see that. So they are actually very similar, except that for iLook, instead of these column names that we were putting here, we need to know the index of these columns, and that's what we'll be putting there. The rows are the same, but for the column names, you can't put column names in iLook. Let's try and see that. So let's say we want to select the second row. I mean, this one is easy. We can do iLook. So the second row should just be 1, right? Since it started from 0. So if I do this, that's the second row. So Afghanistan, Asia, the year is 1957, So that's the second row. Even if I put colon, it's still the same thing. So it's still the same thing. So Dimeji now, so what Dimeji was trying to say that we can use the iLook to easily get the last row without bothering about the index, without bothering about that you can use iLook and put -1. This was what Kudu suggested. It will work for iLook, but it will not work for look. Do you see that now? So for iLoc, it's going to give you that information because iLoc is using index. Yeah, iLoc is using index, though it's not using this particular index. iLoc is using the idea of index that we do in list, like zero, like using both forward and backward indexing using negative and all of those things. Even if I put -2, it will work for iLoc. Even if I put -100, it's going to give us the value that is 100 from the end. See, it's 1,604. iLoc is using that idea. But this will not work for loc. This for loc will give error because it can't find anything called -1. So that's how you know the difference in all of that. So iLoc can work with the idea of our list indexing and all of those stuff. It can use that approach. Am I communicating? I hope I'm not confusing this.
It's clear, sir.
Okay, so but what if, so like I said, if we want to select using iLoc, we can also use column for to mean all rows. I cannot put the column name like country. I cannot. It's going to give me error. This will work for loc, but for iLoc, you have to specify the index. I know the index of country is 0, so I can put that there. That will work. So, and if I want country and continent or country and year, so the implication of iLoc is that you have to know the index of the column you want to select. So for when you have data that is very large with many columns, iLoc may not be the best. It may be loc, since that you only need to know the names of the column, you don't need to know the index. But so they both have their, they both have cases where one is preferable and the other. So that's why it's good for you to know both. Because some people have asked me before that, can I just know loc and forget about iLoc? Yes, but sometimes, like we saw here in indexing, iLoc was faster. So here, for instance, if I want to select country and year, I need to know country is 0, year is 2. So this is 0, 1, 2. So if I want to do that, I will have to put that in a list. The same idea, but I can put 0, 2. So if I do that, that will select those two. Yeah, that will select those two stuff for me. Yeah. So, but if I want to select maybe from the 3rd column to the end, let's see. So you can see from the 3rd column to the end, that's from the year to the end. That will give me everything like that. So you can see that will do that. I mean, you can do that with loc. So you have to call the country, like maybe the year colon, but you have to specify the last column. Yeah, so they both have their own different ways. So, but the main point is for loc, you have to specify the column names, but for iLoc, you need to know the index of the column names that you want to subset. That's the basic difference between both. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right, any question, please? Any question from anyone? Any question? Are we good?
It's clear, sir.
All right. Okay. So, I mean, mixing it up, you can play around with all of those ones, things like that. You can, yeah, you can play around. So let's see how we can begin to answer some questions in our data. Let's say there is a question here that says, find the average GDP per capita, for each continent. So this, let's see the data again, just so that you can see what I'm saying. So this is the data. So we know, we have seen some unique continents there. We have Europe, we have Asia, we have, I think, Africa, things like that. So the question is, find the average GDP per capita for each continent, So who has an idea, apart from Dimeji or Chen, what do you think, how do you think we can go about this calculation? Average GDP per capita for each continent. Who wants to try? You don't have to be right. Yes? Nobody. Okay, that's fine. Taiwo, you want to try?
Yeah, I just want to say something, Sha. I
Okay.
don't know.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, so I think we are exactly for the average per continent. So when we check this, you can see we have Afghanistan, for instance. Asia is
Afghanistan is
popping up
under country.
over time.
Yeah, Asia.
Country, yeah, I know Asia. I was referring to Asia. So I don't know if it's possible for us to sum it up per continent, then add them together and divide it.
Yes, that's the idea. That's
Hello.
actually what we want to do. I'm with you. That's actually what we want to do. We want to sum the GDP across each of the continent. But how do we, there are many.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so let me just try. Let me try. So we
Okay.
can just do gap.
Mm-hmm.
So some gap, you put your this thing full stop, then some.
Okay. Is that what you want? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
so we need our yes. So we need our Asia now. So when we check Asia now, Asia is the second first column. So country is the first. So we can put this thing here. We can put some GDP. That would be the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's the 5th.
Okay. So I'll put GDP inside. Is that what you say? Is this what you mean?
Yes. No, index in the we put the 0, 1, 2, 3, 5.
Where should I put 5? Okay. Do you mean I should use iLoc or
don't put
some?
You make use of iLoc.
Okay, so write the code. Are you on a computer? So
no, I'm using my smartphone.
Okay.
Let me try to see if I can write it down.
Yeah, write it down and say, okay, so let me give you guys pointer. Anytime you see each, anytime you want to perform a calculation for each something, maybe for each column that has categories, this for each means that we should find a way to group this continent such by grouping it's going to group all of the different continents. It's going to gather all the rows specific to Asia, all the rows specific to Europe, all the rows specific to all other continents you have. So it's going to gather those ones, and then we can select the column we want to perform calculation on, which is GDP per capita, and then sum it. So what that group will do is gather each of the continent, rows specific to each of the continent, select their GDP per capita, then we can sum all the rows for each of those continents separately. Do you understand? So this is it. So it's like gap dot group by. So if you do this, so group by, you don't need to memorize it. Put dots, do as if you are typing group and press tab. It will complete for you. Or dot, press tab and scroll down, you will see group by. So we want to group it by the continent because that is for each continent. So that's where you start from. So you group it by continent. Which column do we want to perform calculation on? Anybody? Is it on country, life expectancy? GDP per capita.
GDP per capita.
So we have GDP
per capita.
Per capita. So we have per cap. So that's it. And the calculation we want to perform is sum. Okay, it's average. So we do dot mean because that's average. So this means group all the continents, meaning select all, gather all the rows specific for each continent, select their GDP per capita, and then find the average. That's all that is doing. That's all. So this gives us the GDP per capita for Africa, for Americas, for Asia, and you can even sort itself. So, but even if you can even do this -1, that would make it from, remember we did something like this in list, how to reverse a list or a string. Do you remember? Same thing, colon, -1. So that's same thing. So this gives us, I just arrange it in descending order. That's all this is doing. Okay. So this tells me Oceania has the largest average GDP per capita, followed by Europe. Africa is the last. Americas second to the last, according to this data. So that's that. So is this clear to everyone how to find the average GDP per capita for each continent? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right. Please, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. Taiwo, is it clear now?
I have a question. Yes, sir. I have a question. Is there no way we can sort it by continent?
Is there no what?
Is there no way we can sort it by continent, like alphabetically?
Your network is actually breaking. I can hardly hear you. Is there no way to do what? You can put in the chat. So that way I can read it. Yeah, put in the chat.
Sir,
Okay.
what if you are to perform two operations? More like you have to calculate two different columns of like the grouping in two different columns or something. More like you work the mean of two different columns when you group
So
them
come
already.
up with, look at this data and come up with that question.
What if you ask to find the average life expectancy and group by GDP per capita?
So you want to find average life expectancy and average GDP per capita for each continent, right? Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, that's not an issue. We only select multiple columns. That's all. There is even a better way to do this. I will use two methods. So this looks like what I put here, a question here, that average GDP per capita and average life expectancy for each continent. So your question is similar to the question I already have here. So okay, so we have gap. Let's group by. So group by continent because we want for each continent. And then, so we can use the method is that we can select, since we want to perform calculation on more than one column, so we can select the two columns using double square bracket like this. So we use GDP per cap. So per cap, and then we select the other one. That's the life expectancy, right? And then we'll calculate the mean. You see, so that will be a data frame now. Is this what you're asking for?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I just put that in double square bracket, like since I'm selecting multiple columns. So, but we can do this the other way around, even this one. I'll use the ARG method. So, we just group by the continents. So I will say, so there is an ARG method. So this .arg, so is a method, but I will put in a dictionary inside it. The column will be the column I want to perform calculation on. So which is, let's say, GDP per cap. So GDP per cap. And then the calculation I want to perform is mean. So I will put that that's the value. So the second, so if this is a single column, this will give me the same thing like you saw there, but in the data frame, you can say Africa is this. So for Taiwo that is asking if you can sort the continent. This will sort it for you. This will select it in alphabetical order. So you don't need to sort. You can't, if you put sort here and then now perform calculation, and then now select this, you may be getting error. So if you want it to be sorted, so Taiwo, you can use the aggregate method. Okay, so this will do that for you, and we can do that for multiple columns just like this. So let me just copy this column. Is this arg method, is it clear? So is the arg method clear?
Very clear, sir.
All right. So let's do that, see how it works. So the same thing, we just put another key, so which will stand for the column named as a life expectancy, and the value will be suppose we want still to do mean, but we can do median or we can do other ones. So we can do all of that. So if we do this, this should give us, you can see the same thing like what we have before. So this gives us, so is the last column that you have it. So is this dot arg. So you can see it put them there and it get the continent sorted. So that's, you can do multiple columns. Even if I want median here, it should recognize it as an aggregate function. You can see, so the life expectancy is the median, the GDP is mean. So you can do all of that. And you can put sum too. If it's the sum of the life expectancy, or you can recognize it as an aggregate function. You can see. So whichever one you want to do. So this one is more flexible and better than selecting the multiple column, but it all depends on you. You can do it this way, but this is preferable. You can do it this way, whichever one. All right. Any question before I wrap up Pandas, and then you guys can do this stuff. Any question? Is it clear? All right. So I will wrap up by using this particular data. So this is a COVID-19 data, but this data is real time. By real time, I mean is updated. This site is actually real time. So if you run this particular code that we're going to do tomorrow, it's going to include, because I'm not sure they have updated it for today. So we might not see today's data there, but I'm sure it's up to yesterday. If you run it, this same link code on this link tomorrow, you will see today's data on it. So it's real-time data. Okay, so it's a large data. It's over 1 million data. So we're going to work on it. So if anybody asks, have you worked on large, big data? Yes, you can say yes after working on this data, because this data is like over 1.6 million rows. So we're going to work on it. So that's the link. Let me, I know most of you are using your phone, so there's no point giving you the link, but the link will be in
Please give us.
Okay. I know Dimeji is Oliver Twist, so he likes to explore everything. So let me put it in the, I think BC has a question I didn't know. Can we group continent and year, then find average? Yes, BC, I will answer your question. Yes, you can do that. BC, are you on your laptop? So if you're on your laptop, you can try it. You can group. BC has a very good question that can we group by two things like continent and year? Before I look at that data, yes, you can do that. You can group by two things, but you have to put it in a list, just like that. So, the same strategy. Just put it in a list if you are grouping by multiple stuff. See, so this we group by continent. So this is so what it will do is that for each continent is going to give you for all the years that you're interested in, and it will give you and so you can say for each of them it's just going to be longer now. So you can. This is very similar to one of the exercise questions. So I will. Okay. So do I answer your question, BC? All right, so let's look at this particular data. So we are going to read it in the same way, okay, and then you can explore it. So, but this data doesn't have so much like odd columns like continent and all of that. Let's see, I'm not sure. So let's call it COVID, and then pd.read underscore CSV, because it's a CSV file, then we'll pass in URL. So we'll run it. See, it might take some time. You can see that this place is shaded, it's still running. Yeah, so you might, yeah, so now we can check the dimension, COVID. Let's do the dot shape to see the dimension. So this data is like 1,637,939. So it's quite a large data, and it only has 6 columns. Let's see the first 5 rows of this data to see the columns it has. So this data has, you can see the dates. So it includes 2020. I'm going to check the tails so that you can see the last few rows. The county, so it's only about the United States. It's not the entire world. Okay, so these are all the states in the United States there. And for each of the states, you have the county in each of those states. So I'm guessing this fifth should be about the population. I don't know what the fifth is about. It's not population. Is a particular calculate metrics they are using. I don't know what it is. So these are the cases for each of those dates in each of those states. So you can analyze this data, and these are the death, you know, things like that. County is just like a city. So the way they do the idea, you know, like you have in Lagos is a state, you have Ikeja, you have, I mean, all those different places in Lagos, you know, Yaba, you have Akoka. So different stuff. That's the idea of county. Yeah. Okay. So who is saying USA? I don't understand what you mean by USA, Taiwo. So let's check the last 5 rows to see the update, like the last 5. Okay, so you can see that this data was up to yesterday, 20th of August, 2021. So it's up to yesterday. If you run it, you know, depending on the date you run it, it's going to give you, it may be more than this number, but it's going to give you up to that date. So today we are still around, we are still in the morning. We're just getting to around 11 at times. So that's why it has not been updated. So that's it. So you can see all of that stuff. So you can see the death as at yesterday on a state called Wyoming, in this county called Sweetwater. They recorded about 5,000 cases yesterday and about 46 deaths yesterday. And still in another city, another county in Wyoming, see the number of cases and number of deaths. In Wyoming alone, there are so many cases and deaths. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we're experiencing there. So, and that's why most of, we're still working from home, school, you know, all of those things. From home, everything, school from home, do everything from home. So that's because of these cases, especially in most of these states. Yeah. Okay, so you can analyze it. You can do all of your analysis personally and all of that. I leave you to do that. Okay, so let's see the missing values. If this data has missing values, is any dot sub. So the fifths has this number of NAs and the death. So these are the rows. Out of that over 1.5 million or 1.6 million, about 36,000 rows are missing for the death, and about 14,000 are missing for these fifths. Okay, so we can answer questions like, oh, what date was the highest death recorded? You know, we don't know whether it was yesterday or it was, we don't know. So how do you think we can find the date with the highest death recorded? Who want to try?
Please, sir, can we see the table?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Can we group by date and then check for the maximum value?
So did you say group by death or date?
Debt.
Death. So
Okay, group
death,
now group by date and data. I don't know.
so you cannot group by continuous values. You can
Okay.
group by a categorical variable. If you look at all those things we were grouping on, continent, they are categorical. Year is too can be categorical because some years are repeated, 90 things like that. So, but so if you group by death, that means it's going to just the row will be exactly the same thing, except 46 is occurring many times, 11 is occurring, things like that.
Oh,
But
yeah, that's true.
but you can group by date because
Okay, so
you can say August 20, August 20, August. So you can group by date because they are repeated. And then we select the depth and sum it. Would that make sense? So let's try it.
yeah.
So group by, let's group by dates. And then let's select you can use .arg, but let's select dates and then do .sum. So that gives us, there are so many things, but we can sort it, just sort it. So this tells us that the highest debt was yesterday. So far in this data was actually from yesterday across the whole US. So it was about 62,000 across all the states. It was about 627,631 deaths in the whole state in this data yesterday. It's a large number. And yes, and 2 days ago, it's over 600,000 too. This is massive death. Yeah, so we're enjoying Nigeria. Wow, this is insightful. Okay, so and we can, I know I've not taught visualization. We're going to do that in I think after next week, we should move to visualization. Visualization should take 1 day, and then we can move to machine learning. So, but if I want to visualize it, just very simple, let me copy this code. Because sometimes if you are dealing with people who are not inclined to coding, you might just put things in a simple plot for them to see. So if I do this, the data overlapped. So let's see, there's a way out. Don't worry about this package, matplotlib. We are going to get used to it by 2 weeks time by God's grace. Matplotlib.pyplot, import it as PLT. So it's just a library, just like Pandas is a library for working with data. For visualization is matplotlib. Don't worry, we'll do it and with Seaborn. So I just want to, I want to make these ticks, S ticks. I don't want them to be overlapped, that's all. So I'll just do PLT .x ticks, and then I can rotate it. I can just change the rotation, maybe 35 or 45, whichever one. So if I don't want all these axes to be showing, I can just do plt.show. And see, so this tells me, you can see this is, when you show this to even someone who doesn't know coding at all, at least the person can say, fine, we can title it, or you can title this stuff so that the person can know what you're talking about. PLT.title, things like that. PLT.title should be, maybe the title should be COVID death, or maybe COVID death or things like that. Can give you the title of your own. And then you can even do the Y label. Don't worry about the specific of the code. Yeah, Y label, you can say that should be the death, number of, deaths. So that titles it, So that gives me the title COVID death. This is the number of deaths. The date is already there. So so if you show this to someone who doesn't even know coding, the person can say, okay, oh, you are talking about the number of deaths. Oh, it's about COVID death. These are the dates you are showing me. And the highest, you are trying to tell me that yesterday we recorded over 600,000. And so far, compared to 7th of April 2020, yesterday was the highest number of recorded deaths in the United States. You can show simple things with simple visualization, but don't worry, we're going to do a lot of visualization by God's grace. We'll all be alive 2 weeks time by God's grace. We'll all do that. Yeah, and is what I'm doing, is it clear? I hope I'm not confusing you guys.
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Is it clear? Adams, do you mean it's not clear yet? Is that what you mean?
It's clear, sir.
Okay. So
I'll need to rewatch.
What?
How do you release the video, sir? The YouTube video, we watch it.
Yeah, but don't worry about the plotting. I only showed you, I'm only showing you the same information here, but he's picking the highest for each of the different time, so each of the different months. So, but don't worry about this plotting. We are going to do plotting very well using Seaborn and Matplotlib. Yeah. So, someone is asking me what's the difference between count and sum. So count, as the name implies, you are counting the number. Sum, you are adding them together. So if you do count, for instance, if you want to count the number of deaths here, so you can group, if you are grouping by this, you group by the dates, you select the date, and you are saying count. So if you do count, so this just gives you the count of death for each of the day, but it's going to list them. This is not going to, this is just counting the number of rows for each of them. It's just giving you count of each of those, how many in this first date, 2021, how many rows, has death or something like that. So it's not really summing the death. It's just counting the rows of death for each of these dates. That's all. It counts for the whole of August 2016, how many rows has death, there is, and it's giving you 3,000 plus. So it's not summing this guy. Is it clear, Chibike? Okay.
Yes.
All right, no problem. Okay, so that's it about grouping and answering questions. And you can do much more on it. So before I will wrap up with just this particular one. That look at this question. This question says select all the data where state is Washington, Virginia, Kansas, and where county is just these two columns. Let's look at the data again. COVID, do.edge, so that you can see what I'm saying. So there are different states here. So I want all the rows with Washington, Virginia, and Kansas. For instance, let's see. So let's see the unique states there so that you can understand the question I'm asking. So just run .unique. So if you do this, these are the unique states. All the states in this data: Washington, Illinois, California, and all of that, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Wyoming, and all of those states. So, but I don't want information for this. I want you to select all, just these 3 states. I want data that will, suppose I want to investigate these 3 data alone, these 3 states. So I want to get a subset of the data frame, just like what I talked about originally. But in that subset, I only want all the roles specific to Washington, Virginia, and Kansas. And also, I don't want all the county. There are so many counties here. But I want county only that are Snow Beach and Orange. Snow Beach is in Washington, and I don't know where Orange is, but it's actually a county here in a particular state. So I want all roles specific to this state and county to this state. I wish I have a gift I can send over to whoever can answer it. But who want to try? Maybe the gift will be that I will pay for you to do our paid course. Maybe, I'm not sure yet. Maybe, who want to try it?
Give us time, sir.
What?
I said you give us time. Let's think.
Who want to try, Gary? Don't mind. Adams want to cheat. He want to Google. Yes. You don't know whether I will say you will take our paid courses, or maybe data analytics with Power BI, Excel.
Must we get it, sir?
I'm trying to write.
To get price. But actually, in this course, we are going to do a project. Maybe, I don't know yet, but maybe the prize will give to the person that get the best project, the best, the highest. Maybe I think I would like to sponsor the person to take one of our premium course. Yes. That I know will enhance your feed in this. Maybe the course, I think one of our 50,000 course here. So who want to give this one a try? Yes? Fumbi, I've not heard your voice. Are you there at all?
I am.
Okay. Yes, our lady, this is your chance. Though. You know, you're very active. This is your chance. You want to try?
Sir, can we see the question on the table again?
I'm coming, sir.
Okay, this is the question. And this is the table. This is the table. So this is the question is Dimeji, do you want to try too? You know, you
I'm
are
actually trying. I'm trying from my end.
Okay. Yeah, so this includes Dimeji too. Dimeji, no, you are in-house, but this includes you for the price. Don't let me exempt you. Yes. You have 30 seconds more or 1 minute more.
No, wait now.
Taiwo, are you trying?
I'm trying.
Yes, Rafi should get this. Rafi is not here. Oh no. I think his network has been bouncing around. Joseph, are you giving it a try? Samson, this is your chance. So is Samson trying it? Yes, Ayomide want to say something. Yes, Ayomide. You want to say something? Okay, I think time is up. Yeah. I mean, you can, there's no, once I release it to you, there's no prize for it, but should I release it for you guys to try it and tell me back next time? Or you want me to solve it?
We'll try it.
All right, so let me leave it then. So you already have the data. So this is the question. Let me copy this question and put it in the chat. So if you try it and you don't get it, then we can look at it together maybe next week. So that's the question. Select all the data where state is Washington, Virginia, and Kansas, and where county is Snohomish and Orange. Okay, so that's that. I mean, if you answer that question, then this one is just beans, you know, it's just to find which of the counties has the highest total death. So yeah, so this is where I will stop.